I've been trying since I started this channel to find a regular series to do. Knowing my usual essay with a historical fact style is hard to pull off on a weekly basis. 90-second builds is great and can stay when I find cool stuff, but let's try something different. Power rankings. Now, whenever we see builds, especially good ones, people go over the ins and outs of a class and where it might struggle or do well based on gear. Or it's a BS showcase where everything is set up to make you think the class is awesome all the time, every time. Either way, everything is subjective a bit in Diablo 2 just by the nature of the game. But let's try to make things less subjective and give a score to classes and builds. We're going to start this series with my personal favorite, the summons Multishot Bowazon. Yeah, multi-shots. Let's get into it. We're starting with Multishot because people hate my opinion on Multishot. And as much as I find it hilarious, my sub count keeps going up, I enjoy arguing with people more than anything. Except about fucking Multishot, where some of the absolute worst takes get uttered because people miss Bowazon from Diablo 3, Season 2 Multishot. So let's break down Season 5 Multishot into what will be 6 categories of single target, AoE, safety, Ubers, gearing, and play style. We're going to include Ubers in the objective quote-unquote score here because ranking based on Uber's difficulty, well, it's something that people ask for all the time. It's almost the most common thing people ask about a class outside of, well, how do you gear it and play it? Declone and Wrath mode require specific builds and specific gear, but anyone with any build can do Ubers, and as I said, it's what most people ask for, so we're going to include that in our objective ranking here. So, single target. Multishot, despite its main skill being multi-shot, has great single-target damage. This is due to Guided Arrow being a great one-point wonder, and even better if you forego summons or the evade skills in favor of buffing Guided Arrow's damage through its synergy, Magic Arrow, which will convert some of its damage to magic damage. Helps deal with Fizz immunes. Strafe is also a good option because once you've multied down an area and are left with only a boss, Strafe gives a damage and attack rating boost and you fire 5 shots. So plus skills work very well with it, and actually increases its damage a decent bit. It's almost as good to have plus skills on Strafe as max damage charms. So I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10. It's got very good single target. So for for AoE, this will be odd because we have to compare everything to its competitor. And in doing so, we compare, I guess, Multishot to its main rival, which I would say is Throwbarb, or its old iteration, Season 2 Broken Multishot. Well, luckily, I don't think it matters, because it is slightly worse than the Season 2 with the Season 2 dex scaling nerf in place. But a decked out Multishot Zon is still technically better on AoE than a Throwbarb at the cost of single target. This is obviously, I think, a 10 out of 10. It's the best AoE class there is. It just has I'm going off script here, but it has the ability to spread its multi-shot or narrow its multi-shot. The Pierce buffs are okay enough that I think that it's going to push it beyond the bouncing of Throwbarb. But Multishot has the most ability to spread its stuff, and it is the AoE class. So I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 here, even if the Season 2 would be an 11 or 12 out of 10, I think. Safety. This one's hard because it depends on your build. I mean, you can have Valk tanks bump your personal evade skills or sacrifice damage for vitality. All 3 provide a decent bit of movement-based safety, but I think the big thing here is your leech amount and the amount of shots you fire. Bowazon is very safe because you can take a hit and instantly regen your health with a little bit of life leech. And now that you can sacrifice dex for vitality without being a complete moron, proving the Season 2 nerfs are great because it gives you choice, you can easily get 1500 life to avoid one-shots even from aura buffed enemies. So this is a very safe build for softcore or hardcore. You don't need the glass cannon, though most people do. You still need to position, think, and keep firing, but overall, it's certainly above average on safety once your damage is high enough. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Ubers. Multishot can certainly handle Ubers. It's personally easiest for me using Valks, provided you grab plus to mana on some items. You obviously have great ability to clear minions, but they don't add up in large packs like on maps. Your single target is good enough to blast down bosses too, but since Throwbarb really beats Multishot Bowazon out on Ubers on every metric, I really can't rank it too high. Now, their summoners obviously have an easier time with the Ubers tanking, so while it can do it fairly easy, there's just better options. It's average on Ubers, 5 out of 10. Gearing. I'm going to use average gear as gull per item around mid-season. Yeah, I know it's quite subjective when we're trying to eliminate subjectivity, but if you have a better idea, let me know. I think anyone can afford a gull by just finding 25 Worldstone shards, and normally that's not so unreasonable. The big ticket items with Multishot will be your bow and your armor, most likely a wind force and a fortitude. I've done it before and argue all you guys want, but lord, you can get a multi-socket wind force for a gull about a month into each season except for season 2. I love when people say that's unreasonable because I know you either didn't play PD2 or you didn't play a bow character since season 2. So, sorry, fortitude requires low, which is technically 5 gulls. That's a lot. The rest of your gear can be self-found, but obviously getting expensive items like Good Corrupt Dracula's Grasp or Nosferatu's Coil pushes the build very far. So, since it's simply harder to gear than plus skill classes that can really be decked out with just skillers and crafting gear to start, like all physical classes, this can be more difficult than average to gear. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 on its gearing ease. Playstyle. Whether you go Volks or Dodge, this class is fairly simple. It's plant, stand, fire, reposition. You don't have multiple skills to manage or required weapon swaps. I mean, you can play this as a twitchy player or an awareness player. It's fairly simple. It's not the easiest in the world because you do have to position a bit, and there are classes that leech better. You know, if you want to talk about how easy a summoner is to play, even if it's boring, a summoner is 10 out of 10 ease. So this, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. So overall, that's 40 points out of a possible 60 for a 6.6 repeating score out of 10. Even when I break it down into its components, Multishot is exactly where I thought it was. Even in my basic gear review, it's above average and it's not overpowered. It's in a good spot. And before someone mentions buffs for Season 5, increasing Multishot range slightly is throwing you guys a bone. It doesn't do much in the big scheme of things, and it doesn't help at all on maps limited by walls. The reduced piercing penalty is nice, but again, clearing dense mobs 10 to 20% faster is slight. It's nothing major. I think Bow is in a good spot. I think the changes they made are great because they bumped it up a little bit while throwing you guys a bone and making you think Multishot is better than it is. That's about it. So if you disagree, feel free to leave a comment below. I'm not going to respond to it because I ignore all comments on Multishot going forward. I'm objectively right. I'm the best. I'm right, the best. I don't know how to say this anymore. Get out of my channel. Bye. Ubers. Multishot can certainly handle Ubers, and it's personally easiest